You're listening to the Ecosystem Approach show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The Ecosystem Approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach show. The term Great Resignation is all over the news right now. Many people are questioning whether to work, how to work, or what they want for work. Today, we're going to help you get clarity about your work and how to have meaning with your work. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Okay, Jason. Have you heard the old joke? A man heard that most accidents happen 3 miles from home, so he moved. So tell the audience what that has to do with work.
Well, it's the same as the old joke. She doesn't believe I put that in there.
No,
Anyways,
I don't.
Most people change jobs without considering the root problem. And the root problem is internal dissatisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, most people don't know who they are or what they want. And we've seen people even think they know what they want, but they don't.
Right.
And you know, it's not meant to be critical or a judgment.
No,
you know,
it's
because we didn't know who we were for years and years and years. So it's
and right now it depends on the day.
Yeah. Well, it's common in our culture because we have a programming culture.
Yes,
it's not about uncovering who you are and seeing who you are authentically. It's about programming yourself to do this, this, and this.
Right.
And when you're programming yourself, chances are you're using your ego, not the authentic part of yourself.
Oh, that's a good point.
So today we're talking about the Great Resignation. Everybody's talking about the Great Resignation.
Okay.
And I pulled this up to just give you kind of an intro. In that we're talking about how people are just tired of, engaging on Zoom, and launching projects in the kitchen and cheering on healthcare workers and with the daily quarantine clapping. Pretty soon we began to languish and have these moments of existential burnout. And that's what our show's about today, is because people are burnt out. We don't know where we're going, what we're going to do, and we're going to hopefully help you today say, okay, it's the choice of whether to quit or to stay is yours.
Right.
But we're going to give you some clarity about how to make that decision and what you can do for your own energy, so that you can be clearer, more objective,
and make a better decision. I have to jump in and say, Jason, if people don't know who they are, how is that going to even be possible?
Well, I know for both of us,
until
we started doing the Ecosystem Approach 20 years ago, we were both of us were lost.
Totally.
And we didn't know who we were. We didn't know what we wanted. And so we were driven by the opportunities that were right in front of us. The opportunities that came forward, and they didn't fit us at all. A lot of them didn't fit us at all. So the first step is self-knowledge, if in terms of your work. So if you want more work satisfaction, if you're looking to say, okay, I want more meaning in my life, especially since I spent so much time at work, it comes internally first.
Yes.
It's not something that you can go and find, okay, I think I'm going to get a better job. I'm not happy, so it must be my job. And then I'm start looking around for a better job, and that doesn't necessarily work. So let's talk about some of the um, um, the problems. You know, I wanted to share an example for myself.
Okay.
I got most of my jobs based on what was easy to get and who wanted me.
Okay.
You know, and now it's kind of embarrassing now that I think about it, but there were so many parts missing. You know, my first job that I got out of college, I competed with 50 other guys to get, and it was a job in the town that I was going to school in. It was a small town,
Mhm.
and I wanted to stay there, you know, but that was my primary motivation,
Oh, was to stay there.
was to stay
Oh,
there. And you know,
yeah.
I had a business degree, and it was perfect for this particular job.
Sure.
And I got the job, and I was kind of full of myself as a result. But it certainly wasn't the right job for me, you
Okay.
know, and it didn't morph out to be the right job.
Okay.
But I didn't even know, because I was clueless about who I was,
Okay.
you know. So I know that you took a job in purchasing because you had some qualifications,
I did.
you know, and
And I hated it.
you hate, and I mean, it's so not you. It
No,
is so not you.
numbers are not me, although I definitely I can count, we'll say it that way sometimes. But the bottom line is that you wouldn't think that a job in purchasing would be about competition, and it was.
Well, it's what we do, and we're going to talk about this more in the second segment, but we recreate our emotional story at work over and over
Absolutely.
again. And
Absolutely.
usually that's the driver for the jobs.
Right.
So unless you know what that story is, you know, and you're going out and looking, you may not find the job that's ideally suited to you,
Right.
without that information.
You know, we didn't talk about this beforehand, but I was one of the things I did was I was a professional cake decorator, and I loved it because it was very artistic, and you know, people would come in and say, you know, can I have a cake for this? And I would say, well, what is this person? Tell me about this person. And I would kind of, you know, do things that would, you know, be the cake for that person. That was great. It was very artistic in so many ways. But what I didn't realize was the toxic materials I was working with. I was working with sugar directly. And boy, it really, really, really affected me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it, not to mention the dyes that I would get on my hands. And of course,
Yeah.
they always said, oh, those dyes were, you know, they're all natural. That might have been true, but I have to tell you, in other words, here's my point. I did this job. I was very, very good at it, but I never considered the 360 view or the 360 things about that job that would affect me.
So there was one part that was really good.
Oh, it was
but
great.
there was a lot of parts that weren't.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
a lot of times we choose a job based on the need to pursue a dream.
Yes.
You know, for example, saving the whales or saving the rainforest, that sort of thing, some sort of ecological thing.
Sure.
But a lot of times people get involved in those things and they're in an environment that's really toxic for them.
Very much.
Or because of the way the people in it, they can't, they don't feel the satisfaction that they thought, even though the topic that they're working with is perfect for them.
Right, exactly. But you don't consider, most of us, and we're not trained to actually consider all of the things that job will, how that all of those things about that job will affect us personally.
Here's one that's really that we've worked with a lot of people about, artists and musicians.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And often artists are gentle and sensitive and have great insight into human nature.
Right.
The problem is that the business of art and music is harsh and highly cutthroat and highly competitive.
Yes.
And most people can't deal with it in a way that's appropriate for them. And they're not able to. Some people are.
Okay.
And we would encourage that, but some people aren't. A lot of times we talk to artists about doing what they love, and then having a job that's art adjacent.
In other words, a job that's art adjacent to support the dream of what they love to do, create that.
So they can be creative without the pressure of having to pay the rent every month from that type thing. We call that art adjacent. Okay. And then Here's another area of work that people struggle with is working in caregiving.
Oof.
We're doing caregiving, and because of the way we work, because of the, we're basically self-employed, that we can, and we work from home,
Right.
we can do that. A lot of jobs you can't do that.
Right.
That's a big deal for some people. It can't be the only thing. There has to be more than that. And that's why you have to have that 360 view. And then the other thing is, having a lot of people have a very black and white view of life purpose,
Yes, they do.
and if you can express your life purpose in your job,
Hmm.
it can be really beneficial. The problem is that people, um, they don't understand how to do that. And
No.
typically you can infuse any purpose into any job.
True.
It doesn't, it's because those purposes are very simplistic. They're not very complicated. They're very simple.
Yes.
Healer, warrior, advocate, creating beauty, making things better, finding balance, creating sustainability. Those are some examples of purpose that they're very simple.
Exactly.
You have to make them, because as you uncover yourself, you have to make them more specific based on what you like.
For you.
Yes.
Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Many people change jobs without considering the root problem of internal dissatisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Self-knowledge is the key to all work jobs, and the most difficult working situations come from lack of self-knowledge.
True.
Artists are beautiful people who are abused trying to make a living. Art adjacent careers are good options.
Mm-hmm.
And the ecosystem approach helps you in all work situations to know self and overcome difficult environments.
In the next segment, we're going to talk about work dissatisfaction and what to do about it. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. In this segment, we're going to talk about work dissatisfaction and what to do about it. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, I know for me, I was never really satisfied with work until, well, we started working together. So you could, of course, remind me, but also, what is the answer to that for everyone else?
Work satisfaction is life satisfaction, and that always comes from within. We keep looking outside of ourselves for meaning and satisfaction, but the truth is it's inside. Well, and that's kind of cliche. So how do you do that inside stuff?
Sure.
And of course, the quick answer is applying the ecosystem approach.
Okay.
Because we created the ecosystem approach so that you could learn how to find what's on the inside.
Correct.
As opposed to being programmed.
Yes.
And using your ego to determine what you want to do.
Okay.
So here's the biggest problem that most people have with work that creates huge amounts of dissatisfaction.
Okay.
When they go to work, they recreate their emotional story.
Yes.
I know that unless you heal your emotional story, and unfortunately, I'm making it sound very black and white.
Okay.
We've been in the process of healing our emotional story for the last 20 years,
Yes.
and we're still working on it.
I see it as a lifetime journey.
The lifetime journey, and
Yes.
we're still doing that. But in the process, we've had some major changes that have happened to us, and it's allowed us to have our own life satisfaction based on the work that we do.
Exactly. Yes. It's been wonderful, actually.
That's very fulfilling.
And by the way, we know not everybody can do or wants to do what we do. That's not what we're saying. I want to make that very
and that's
clear.
A great example of saying, okay, well, if they're happy, then I'm going to do what they do.
Exactly.
That's not
that's not what we're talking about.
Saying to go within and say, okay, what would give me meaning? What would be meaningful for me?
Correct.
And a lot of times it's not the job, that keeps you from having that meeting. It's an internal energy that keeps you from having that meeting.
True.
And um, it all has to do with your emotional story. So let's talk about that some more.
Okay.
Your emotional story, we've talked about this before on the show.
Okay.
We talk about Cinderella, and it's not the the glass slipper part of Cinderella. It's the part that where Cinderella was in the back with the birds and doing all the work.
Yes.
Like being the maid.
The birds, the rats, and the mice.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Squirrels.
And cleaning up and doing all the chores and all those other things. While
Correct.
the other three sisters were
two sisters.
With two sisters?
Two sisters. Yeah.
Three sisters.
No, there are three altogether, but it was the two stepsisters.
Okay.
Yes.
The stepsisters were having fun going to balls and that sort of thing. Well, that's the part of your emotional story that you relate to.
I
so
do.
When we met, you were doing purchasing, and it certainly didn't serve you.
No.
But what was interesting about that job was you basically recreated your emotional story, because you were doing all the work, and the other person that you were
in my department,
yes, in your department, was getting all the glory. She was flirting with the boss, and she was saying, we can do this and we can do that and we can do that. And in the meantime, you were doing the work. That was a classic example of recreating your emotional story.
Exactly, because that was the same story that I had as a child growing up.
So it's with the ecosystem approach that you can use to uncover what that emotional story is, and also remove the negative energies, including patterns and programmings that keep you stuck in that story. So all those things about work, okay? Work dissatisfaction, if you're bored, if you're in a negative environment, low pay, uninteresting work, harsh management, bad working conditions, start with the numbness to your emotional story.
Right.
Because at some level of consciousness, usually unconscious, you start to recreate that. Correct. I know for me, I always gravitated to jobs, even in the industry where that were the lowest paying. So in other words, other people in the same industry could have been making a lot more money, but I always seemed to kind of go numb when it came to getting the highest pay. But then once I got the job, then I worked really, really hard, which is classic part of my emotional story, to work really, really, really hard,
right,
and not be acknowledged and get the
exactly. And you were trained that if you work really, really, really hard, you will be rewarded for it. He kept waiting for the rewards. I have to jump in there and say it. And most of us were taught nose to the grindstone, work really, really hard, and give 110% was what I was taught to whatever you're doing. And the problem is that all of that, don't get me wrong, that's okay. That has its merit somewhere, but all of that basically says you don't matter.
Well, it's a great example, because you're taught to give 110%. What happens is that what you're not allowed to see is the fact that you've been the maid and the slave all
the
this
whole time. Exactly.
So when you're giving 110%, you have to make sure that you're not putting yourself in a position where you're the
becoming the higher ranked maid.
Yes, or being abused or
right,
whatever.
Yes,
all those things have to do with your emotional story.
Exactly.
So we knew someone who was very talented, but we saw that she quit 2 jobs because there were always issues with management. And then she started her own company, and she had the same issues. Those issues were within her.
And by the way, she was the management.
Yes, yes, and those issues were within her, and it doesn't change when you change jobs. That gets back to the old joke that we talked about in the first segment.
Right.
We also there was an example of someone who had a nutrition company that was relatively successful.
Right.
Her boyfriend worked there, and there were always problems getting things done because no one knew who was in charge. And there were all these managers that were in competition with each other, looking for the boss's favor, because the owner had created her family situation at work.
Exactly.
I've seen that happen many, many times.
Yes, exactly.
And it's, a lot of times people go to a consultant and say, okay, help me figure this out. Well,
Oh,
it's not something you have to figure out outside of yourself. You have to start to understand what's going on inside of you first.
exactly.
And so that applies to, self-employment or even jobs. I know a lot of
Right.
people have come to us for the last 20 years asking about um, help with their vocation, jobs, that sort of
Correct.
thing.
That's right.
And I remember talking to a client recently and saying, the most important thing for you, and I was trying to clear so she could see this,
Okay.
was the environment that she was in. It wasn't the particulars of the job. It was literally
Oh, the environment.
the
Yes.
type of environment, that it was supportive and helpful and all of those things. So
And the other thing is that, and I just want to say this, we have been trained, all of us have been programmed that we're not supposed to look at those things,
mhm.
the environment that you're working in, or the people that you work with, nose to the grindstone, and then you won't see those things. That's not true, because all of us are affected every single day by energy, and people are energy, or they carry energy. Work environment has an energy, and those are things we don't even think about
They're
when
invisible to us.
they are invisible to us because we have been programmed. That's not what's important. It's get the job.
So if this is speaking to you, you're saying, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
maybe this is why I'm having so much problems with work and finding the right job. I need to uncover my emotional story.
Right.
The way you do that is following the ecosystem approach. And the way you do that is go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org, sign up for our free section, and then listen to our show every week, do the clearings at the end, and you're going to start to open yourself up um, um, just by starting to change the energy.
Well, and the best thing is that when you start to open yourself up, like through the ecosystem approach, it's not rude awakenings. What it is it's something that you go, oh, okay. Oh, maybe I could look at that different.
Yes.
I mean, that's amazing to look at something different. So, Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Work satisfaction always comes from within. Start there first. Everyone unconsciously creates their own emotional story at work.
Mhm.
Overcoming comes from applying the ecosystem approach. And the key to finding a great job and having real satisfaction comes from applying the ecosystem approach with using self-knowledge.
Mhm.
And the ecosystem approach teaches you to identify and overcome your emotional story to have real satisfying work.
All right. In the next segment, we're going to talk about what you can do right now if your job situation is changing, whether by choice or not. There are things that can be done to take a more energy approach to your work. By the way, without looking like you're going la, la, la all over the place. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about what you can do right now if your job situation is changing, whether by choice or not. There are things that can be done to take a more energy approach to your work. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the ecosystem approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, you've been talking a lot about your emotional story and how we've created over and over again, especially in our work lives. Okay. But I know overcoming your story takes time. What can people do if they are just starting to use energy? Oh, well, let's say for a better work situation.
That's what we're going to talk about in this segment.
Okay.
We know that uncovering your emotional story is not easy
Yes.
and it takes a while.
Mhm.
Some people, we did a whole show about your emotional story. Go back and listen to that.
By all
if you're
means.
interested,
Yes.
it's very powerful. But so let's say you're listening right now and you say, okay, I've got to make a job decision.
Mhm.
I'm right here. I've got to figure this out. How do I do that?
Right.
Well, we train people how to take an energy approach to your life. So instead of going to an expert outside of yourself,
Right.
we say, okay, let's clear the energy so you can figure this out on your own, so that you can access those internal resources
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
that knows there's a part of you within you. And this is all about the ecosystem approach, but there's a part of you within you that knows, that is the best mentor you could ever have,
And gives the best advice.
for you personally,
Correct.
that you could ever have.
Because you know your story, whether you acknowledge it or not.
Yes.
And
At some level of consciousness.
exactly. And it's really, really awesome. And I know, because I happen to peek at the list of clearings for in the next segment, we're going to clear so you can have the clarity, so you can make those decisions about, should I take this job or should I take
Right.
that job, or that sort of thing. And that to me, that's very personal to me. I see that as being the hardest part. Should I or shouldn't I?
The opposite of taking an energy approach is programming.
That's
And
correct.
that's the common method in our culture today.
Yes.
Programming is about what to do. With an energy approach, you
Yeah.
work with the energies first. Emotions are energies, for example.
They are. Oh, I'm afraid to take that job.
Exactly. Intangibles are energies, like success, being valued, being paid
Right.
for what you're worth,
Right.
are all types of energies.
Right.
And so you clear what's in your way first, and then see what's there.
Yeah.
And it's basically that simple. So if you
And-
don't know what your emotional story is,
Exactly.
clear what's in your way. And we're going to talk about how you do that.
Right. It's and I just want to say, just, if you clear something and then you're still not sure about, this job or that job or no job, the bottom line is you haven't cleared enough yet. And so spend the rest of the day clearing that fear, clearing that confusion, clearing all of those things. And we're gonna talk more about that in especially in the next segment.
So if you're trying to decide whether to stay or to go, or to quit or not quit, so what do you do right now? You don't know what your emotional story is. You don't have this whole thing with the ecosystem
And I don't
approach.
have time to figure out my emotional story.
I don't have time.
Yes.
So here's what you do. You clear the veils and illusions. So we're going to teach you how to clear in just a minute at the end here, but
Yes.
clear the veils and illusions so you can see the situation clearly.
Yes.
And clear for courage.
Yeah.
So you have the courage to implement whatever you see as the right decision.
I would have never thought to clear for courage before I started using
Yes.
the ecosystem approach, because as far as I was concerned, I was supposed to already have that courage to get out there in the world and,
You'd go on the internet, or you'd find a magazine article that says, okay, what to do if you want to change your job. And
Right.
it would say, do this, 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 and this. Well, or think this way.
Yes.
Or feel this way.
Correct.
That doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
The way, what you do is you see what you try and say, okay, what are the feelings that are in me right now,
Exactly.
that are in my way?
Yes.
And then instead of trying to push them aside and ignore them, you clear them.
Yes.
And when you clear them, then more is revealed to you that's authentic to you, that's
correct,
that's really powerful. And that's fun. It's powerful. It's meaningful.
And the other thing is that it'll teach you things about yourself that you really, first off, you do need to know, but also it'll teach you that the world is not black and white the way you've been taught.
So here's some more examples.
Okay.
Let's say you need more work-life balance and you're a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
Clear how to create more work-life balance. Let's say you're overwhelmed because you can't get it all done. Maybe you're feeling guilty because you can't get it all done.
Right.
Clear those things.
Okay.
And then see what happens. See what you see after that. And clear the presumptions about the shoulds that are often traps. I can't, caregivers get stuck in the shoulds all the time. I have to do this. And then they beat themselves up and they beat themselves up. So clear the shoulds.
Yes.
So, you say that I have to do it this way. Well, clear that have to,
right,
and see what comes up.
Right.
You clear guilt. Chances are if you're a caregiver, guilt is a biggie. Clear the guilt. It doesn't mean that authentic guilt won't still be there.
Yeah.
But the guilt that is from negative energy, just clear that away and see see what clarity and objectivity you have
Well,
as a result.
and I just have to say this because I am a caregiver myself. I take things personally a lot, and that will set me sideways way too fast, in my opinion. And so when I clear taking things personally, then I gain a clarity about, oh, this is the way I could handle this situation, or this is what I should do here, or this is how I should spend time right now for something that needs to be done later on.
So let's
Things like
say
that.
you need more money in your job. Okay.
Okay.
Clear to find and get hired for a job that pays more.
Yeah.
Clear your fear of getting another job, clear the barriers so that your new employer will see that you're worth more, clear your fear that you'll be found out or that people won't think you're that valuable.
Right.
Clear all those things that come up.
Yeah.
And it's that simple or difficult depending on how you see.
Correct.
And then so if this is speaking to you, just get the recording and listen to it over and over again and do the clearings over and over again, because when you take an energy approach, the more you clear, the more you use an energy approach, the better off it is.
Well, you call that cumulative. Is that
yes.
how you say that? And that's huge.
So here's the basics. You have a specific problem, clear the specifics. Clarity can take a while. We all lie to ourselves and create illusions about what we believe. Programming says do this, think this way, and they're always quick fixes, and they're easier to implement, but they're not sustainable, and often they don't even work.
Yes.
So program solutions are the reason so many people lack real self-insight and can be like a bull in a china shop when they're at work, because they're trying to do it a certain way that they were programmed to do, but they don't see all these other things around them, and it can be very toxic.
Yes. So are we ready
Yes.
for key points? And then we're going to teach you how to do the clearing, everyone. So Jason, what are the key points?
Clear what's in your way in real time to get what you want. Take an energy approach. Use specific language to clear specifics of what is in your way. Clearing is cumulative. Keep going. Clarity about your emotional story takes time and courage, because seeing yourself clearly can be painful. And the ecosystem approach teaches you to have real insight into yourself so you can create the work life that you want.
Okay. So Jason, he's going to teach you how to do the clearing, and then I'm going to talk to you about life force energy.
So clearing is very simple. You can stand, sit, walk, lay down. There's no specific posture. You don't have to be in a reverent attitude, any of that. And just say, and to eliminate, we'll say to eliminate either emotions, veils and illusions, barriers, those types of things. So in your mind's eye, imagine that gathered up in your body, blow it into the processor. Hopefully they can put a picture of the processor on the screen right now.
Exactly.
And it goes in the top, the negative energies goes in, they get processed, and they come out neutral.
Exactly. And we're going to do a list of that. Then after that, what we're going to do is we're going to activate life force energy. Life force energy is the most powerful energy that anyone has access to. And by the way, by pulling in life force energy, I haven't said this enough. What it does, it goes into the places where we've removed negative energy, and it helps heal. It helps heal. Not only physically, but it helps us heal emotionally. The pains of our lives, the pains of our story. And when we do that, there is a knowing that comes forward of, oh, I can do this. I have purpose. I have meaning. I can get this job done. Things like that. I can actually do this relationship, and I don't have to be a victim. So, and we'll do that afterwards. And what we're going to do is we're going to call upon it. We're going to have it come in through the top of our head. We're going to let it go all the way down our body to the tips of our toes. We're going to stop it there. We're going to turn it around and remove more negative energy, because there's way too much of it that all of us has. Stay tuned when we come back. We're going to get you started clearing to identify the issues in your work life so you can have a better work experience. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to get you started clearing to identify the issues in your work life so you can have a better work experience, whether you change your job or you stay in the same job that you're in. So it's a good thing to be doing this clearing today. I really like this.
So here we go. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the barriers so I can know that the root problem for all job dissatisfaction is within me.
Ooh,
take a
breath, everybody. And throw all that negative energy into the processor / garbage can if you choose. And we'll empty it. Don't worry about it. Okay. So, and moving right along, and to eliminate the barriers so I can see that when I'm in an impossible situation for me, in other words, I can clear this. I don't have to be a victim. Take a breath, nice and easy, and blow it out.
And to eliminate any intense feelings of worry, anxiety, and frenzy that I have when I'm working.
Oh,
just clear them first. Yeah. Don't run for the door. Just clear them first. Take a breath.
And to eliminate any feelings of fear and hurt and shame that I have when I'm working. By the way, this is a really common problem, everyone. So get rid of it. You don't need it. You've got other things to do. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the barrier so I can know that there is always a personal reason I don't like a job that is internal to me. Take a breath.
Take a breath.
You have to know what those reasons are.
Yes, exactly. So, and to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see, I can clear the specific reasons that I have for job dissatisfaction, such as resentments and jealousies and even neediness. Take a breath.
And to eliminate any feelings of fear and terror that I have about my job. Take a breath.
And I have to put this one in here. And to eliminate all the hate that I have for certain people in my job or at my job. Take a breath. You don't need that hate. It's honestly not serving you. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that finding work that is meaningful requires self-knowledge by going inward.
Nice.
Take a breath.
And this is sort of the one that we did a few minutes ago, and to eliminate any intense anger / hate that I have at my boss and or my working conditions. Take a breath.
And to eliminate any resistance I have to clearing constantly, consistently, and specifically for a better job situation.
Take a breath. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see my work with more clarity and objectivity. And I'm going to add and creativity. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can clear the energy that makes me sick, bitter, and unhappy with my job.
That's huge.
Take a breath. Because once you clear that, then you can see what the real reasons are.
Correct. All right. So, and to eliminate any numbness or blocks I have to the negative energy building up in my work situation and the resentment that is keeping me stuck in that negative energy. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see programming has quick fix solutions that are not sustainable for work.
Yes.
And maybe not even effective. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see specifically my dissatisfaction with work, my work, and clear it. Take a breath. I'm going to add one more, and to eliminate all the fear that I'm holding on to that says, no matter how much clearing I do, I'm always going to be afraid that I'm never going to do the job right, when that's not the truth at all. That fear can be overwhelming. Take a breath.
So here we go. Activate life force.
All
Here we
right,
go.
I'm ready.
And to activate life force so I can have hope for a better work situation by clearing my way to it.
Right. Pull it in through the top of your head. Remember, you're going to use it for healing you. Nice and easy. And blow out any negative energy left over. And to activate life force so I can trust and understand my dissatisfaction with work comes from the buildup of negative energy. Take a breath.
And to activate life force so I can decide to clear my way to my purpose and then apply that to my work.
Oh my gosh. Take a breath. Good. And to activate life force so I can be happy and healthy and have fun and laughter and joy and be creative and have objectivity, and also be able to see and know what is standing in my way, one piece of energy at a time, in my highest and best interest, starting right now, today. Take a breath, everyone. Use that life force to heal you right now. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
Okay, we're going to talk about star seeds and whether they're ready. And
what does that mean?
What do you do? What's it? Are you ready now? It's like having some instructions right now. So, and the reason I came up with this, let me explain. Just
okay,
briefly.
I'd like to hear that.
We've been coming to the conclusion that we've been doing this work for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Star seeds are a small portion of the population, but they're the majority of the people that we work with, close to like 95%.
Yeah.
And chances are, if you're a
Maybe
regular
more.
listener to us, you're a star seed.
Yeah.
Don't worry about whether you're a star seed or not, or that sort of thing. That's not what's important. But so we've been working with star seeds all along. Anyways, I want to do more shows about, so if you're a star seed, then what? What do you do?
Right.
And right now we're changing from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. Yes. So what does that mean for you personally? What do you have to do right now? And how can you get to this purpose? We talked about job purpose, okay?
Right.
This is deep within you. What your instructions for what you're supposed to do, not me, but what you're supposed to do is inside. And you have to uncover that.
And by the way, you do that through the ecosystem approach. That's
exactly.
one of the, by the way, that's how we got these jobs that we do every single day. And we help people every single day. And by the way, it's not for everyone, meaning the job that we do, but your job can be anything that will make a difference in people's lives. And I'm talking about from being a musician to being a mom, from being a dentist to being a gardener.
But if you're a star seed, your purpose is especially important.
Yes.
And for the most part, we're going to talk about this in the show, that you've been marked, you've been targeted in a way that has kind of kept you out of the flow.
And that's, that can be a little uncomfortable until you realize, oh, this is a mark. I can clear this.
Yes.
What a concept. I love it. Jason, what can I do to start using the ecosystem approach today?
It's very simple. Listen to our show every week. Go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org, and sign up for the free section. Now, we have clients that we've been working with for years, and they use the clearings in that free section, in that newsletter that comes out once a week, and they put it on their phone and they do it every single day.
Yes.
And that's really, really helpful. So we encourage you to do that. And we've made it so simple for you, because you watch a show, you do the clearings, and you start to apply the ecosystem approach and that's all free. So
Exactly.
go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org. And while you're there, go to Facebook and go see our Facebook page. The ecosystemapproach.org is our Facebook name.
Okay.
And you can see our videos there. Please like us while you're there. We really appreciate that like.
Yes.
And you can see some of the other topics that we've had that could be very
And
interesting to you.
and there's been quite a few.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's really important that you do that.
Okay.
And if you want to leave a comment, feel free to do that also.
Well, and the other thing is that the subscription service, have you talked about that? In other words, sign up, make sure you sign up.
Yes.
I didn't remember that you said that.
Yeah. Make sure you sign up, because when you sign up for our free section, it's all free.
Yes.
We're going to bring out a subscription service shortly.
Yes, we are.
And then you'll be, that'll give you personal access to us in a way that'll be very helpful. Okay.
And then I have one more thing. What if somebody wants to make a comment to us or suggest a show, Jason?
Well, the best way is to do it on Facebook.
Okay. Okay, good.
If you want to send us an email, you can send us an email at hello@theecosystemapproach.org.
Okay, good. All right. We'll connect next week, Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific time and 4 p.m. Eastern time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach show with Jason and Patricia.
All right.
I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach. Thank you so much, and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.